Hey guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video, the video game series in which we look at a recently released game and I give you my first thoughts and impressions on it. Today we're looking at American Theft 80's The Prologue, which is the demo version of the game that released today. It's a budget Grand Theft Auto and it has potential, but there's a lot of jankiness and not a lot of it makes sense, so you just have to bear with me as we go through this. As always, we'll look at the settings first and then we'll jump straight into the game and show you what there is on offer. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, settings. I'm actually pretty impressed with this menu. There is a lot here that you can change and sort of work out to really get the right setting for you. You've got your general settings here, which have your language. You can choose whether the clock is in 24-hour or 12-hour mode. You can reverse your axes if you so want to. You've got mouse sensitivity, you've got FOV for normal and for the car, which is really considerate and not something you generally see in these third-person games all that often. You've then got your graphics settings. Now, this is a good graphics settings menu, but it could be better. I don't like it when it's AA on or off. I would like some variation with that. The quality preset, ambient occlusions, screen space, reflection, bloom, chromatic aberration, DOF, VSync count. Now this is something that you don't see that often and I'm really glad that it's here, and FPS. Your audio setting, you've got sound and dialogue. Your music is set to halfway, which is nice. We're seeing it more and more with games these days. They're not blowing your heads off with the loud music. The sound effects, you probably want to turn them down a little bit. Some of the sound effects are very loud, almost obnoxiously so. So you might want to keep that in mind as well. And then your key mapping. You can remap your keys, which is really nice because some of the default settings aren't that great. For example, crouch is C, and obviously a lot of the time we're used to control for that. It is nice that crouch is toggle and not hold, otherwise it would be really difficult to play along with this. There are controller options as well. I've not really played this with controller. It works pretty well with a keyboard and mouse. Obviously, driving the cars is not going to be an exact science as a result. And they're your options. Like I say, it's a pretty hefty menu. It has got key binding. It's got some options there that could be improved on, but on the whole, not bad at all. Okay, so I would like to show you some gameplay from the save data that I have got, but this is the third attempt now of trying to load this game from the autosave, and it's not having it. It doesn't want to load. Now this is just a prologue, but this is still a problem. I'm going to try loading in on a brand new game and talking about my experiences with the game so far, but I need to include this because this isn't a good sign. If you can't get your game to load from an autosave and a continue, you're going to have a lot of unhappy people when the game comes into full release. So I'm going to try loading into a new game and then we can talk about the actual gameplay from there. Alright, I managed to get a new game going. I had to make an entire new profile and start from the very beginning again, which is not necessarily a bad thing because it means I get to show you the tutorial, which I'm not going to lie isn't very good. It kind of gives you generalized hints but doesn't really teach you a lot. Also, this sort of scene after a few of the cutscenes doesn't explain why you're doing what you're doing. It's sort of a rags to riches kind of feel. It feels like you are starting out as this nobody and then it will sort of give you the insight to be able to become a top thief. What's interesting is the way that you walk around and stuff and just open doors. You're not really very quiet, and yet it sort of expects you to be quiet. And the idea is you break into certain places, areas, try and avoid getting seen and steal stuff. It really is that simple. Although for some reason you get caught when you've got no reason to get caught because you decide to sit and look at a picture which you're about to see. Graphically speaking, the models are a bit weird. they all just seem a little bit off for some reason. Like, their eyes have no expression and their torsos seem a little bit weird. The way that they open doors and stuff, it feels off, and I don't quite understand why. And as you're about to see with this cutscene, the voice acting is there, but again, it just feels off, and I don't quite understand why. I can't grasp what it is about it that puts it so off. And then it just, I don't know, the story isn't there. I can see what they're trying to do, but the story just doesn't really add up. You've got no reason for doing what you're doing. You get caught, yet there's somebody able to get you out, and the guards are generally just oblivious idiots. Also, the sort of objectives that you've got to do and the way that you've got to go around them, again, don't really seem to make any sense. Like, even if you're in a low sort of county jail or whatever, I'm going to skip through the cutscenes so you guys don't have to see them because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but apparently the skip button, if you hold it, doesn't work. You have to just tap it. If you press it, nothing happens, which is a bit odd. And again, that's another sort of issue with the game, is that you do things or you press buttons that you would expect to work and they don't work in the way you would expect them to. It's very janky, very finicky. Some of the animations with this as well. So, for example, if I use the key, every time you use the key, even though it's just a key and not a pick lock, it looks like a pick lock animation, which makes no sense. If you're using a key, especially if you're trying to break out somewhere, you're not going to sit down on your knees to sort of get out. You're not going to do that. That would raise more suspicion than just standing at the door and quickly unlocking it. It's a bit weird. But here we are. We're out. We're going to sneak by the guard, who is apparently really, really oblivious and blind and looking out the window for some strange reason. I don't quite know why. Your map in the bottom right hand corner, again, this is a demo, it's a prologue, so there's plenty that can change, but it feels unfinished. And what I mean by that is it doesn't show on the minimap where it is you're meant to be. Like, you've got your mission hidden in the top left that tells you that you need to find the backpack in the storage, and then in the actual storage room you can see with a ring around it where it is you need to go. But on the minimap, which is something that I personally use a lot in many games to try and get my bearings, because I've got virtually no sort of map directional sense or anything at all, it doesn't show you where you're meant to be going. It doesn't even give you a vicinity. It doesn't give you a ring on the minimap, which is where you would really expect it to be. And as a result, it can feel a bit daunting. And then you've got these areas where it's literally just no sense. Like, you've just broken out of prison or jail. There are walls and stuff around, but you have to go and catch a bus and just sit out in the open, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it's a fast travel, but he's right there. Like, how can he not see me walk across the street and just stand on a bus stop until I leave? Like, it doesn't make any logical sense, but hey, game logic, I guess. The other issue with this is that the map itself is not very big, yet it wants you to get in your car to drive around a lot of it. And it really is quicker and easier to just walk where you need to be, because you've got a fair amount of stamina, and again, the map is very, very small. And it just feels like it wants you to do stuff just for the sake of doing it. Now, I don't know how expansive this entire map is, because I didn't get very far before I alerted somebody and there was some quick time actions that didn't actually do anything, and therefore I lost. And then when I tried loading in again, it just froze on me and wouldn't load in. I like the 80s vibe. I like the neon everywhere. I like the way that you get a pager and you've got a normal classic phone and all that good stuff. But honestly, if I wanted to play a game where I could go around stealing stuff and causing chaos, I would probably just play GTA. There's nothing in this game so far that sort of makes me want to play it more than previous iterations of a game like this. GTA, the GTA trilogy that was recently released was released in a shambolic state and was genuinely fucking horrendous, but it's still a better game, and it's got the nostalgia with it for Vice City that I would rather play over this. And I don't know whether it's because the story hasn't caught me or whether the controls are janky, but it just hasn't grabbed me enough. The voice acting's a little bit weird. And another problem with this as well is the time skip. So time does play a part. There's certain jobs that you've got to do during the day. There's certain jobs that you're only allowed to do at night and stuff. But the loading between sleeps takes really a very long time. And even though the mission tells you that you've got to do certain things a day, it doesn't tell you until after that you can actually rest in your car. You can very easily just rest in your car. So I actually got out the car, walked all the way back to my motel, rested, and then had to rest again because I was at daytime. So I had to wait until nighttime again to be able to complete the mission. It was a lot of faffing about that didn't really make much sense. Also, the hitboxes of your quests that you got to do are very, very precise. Like, you've got to be looking at the door handle, and specifically the door handle, to be able to do anything within the car. And that can be really awkward. Like, I'm used to games just being in the vicinity of the door and then just pressing the button to get into the door, and away you go. Now, if you're playing this on mouse and keyboard, obviously, as you can see, steering with a mouse and keyboard is never a fun time. It's janky and not very fun. But overall, the car doesn't handle terribly. It's not the worst keyboard and mouse main sort of car-driven experience that I've had. It's not terrible. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Like, the game as a whole doesn't look bad. It could look better. And that is a recurring theme throughout the entire game. It's not bad, but it could most assuredly be better. And also, why am I wearing sunglasses? Yeah. But there you go. That is American 80s Theft, the prologue.
You're Jack.
Let me know in those comments down below what you think. I think it's got potential, but it does need a lot of improvements, and they need to sort that loading error out when you try and load into a game, because that's game breaking. That could stop a lot of people from enjoying the game for one reason or another. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.